Hello Wolfpack, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. I've got a couple of articles here to share about why men don't want a relationship with women over 30. First one here is off Medium from a couple of years back. Men don't want a relationship with women over 30. This was the starting line of one of the many conversations that I had with an older male friend of mine, We typically have conversations about life, work and relationships. Given his age, mid-50s, and experience level, he likes to take the time out of his precious day to educate me on men and women relationships. Let's first give credit where credit is due. He's been in far more relationships than me. Plus he's lived with more women than I have men. He currently lives with his 20-something-year-old girlfriend. I think that's going to be a crucial point of focus in this article. On this occasion, he asked me this question. Why do you think women over 30 are single? I gave him my answer. In my opinion, women in their 30s are single because they've matured and now have a clear definition of the type of men that they want in their lives. They have no time for games, and as such, they want a man that is ready to settle down and raise a family together. Before I could finish my thoughts and analysis, he quickly dismissed them, opting instead to share his thoughts on the singleness of the 30-something-year-old woman. He started by saying that men didn't want a relationship with women over 30. Me, being a 30-something-year-old woman, took issue with this statement. Well, yeah, you're going to, aren't you? Because you don't want to be reminded of the fact that you've wasted your youth and fertility. But having a passion for vibrant discussions, I entertained his thoughts. His thoughts on the singleness. The main thing keeping 30-plus-year-old women single, he said, is their need for perfection. He's not wrong. He argues that women in their 30s want the perfect man, tall, dark and handsome, with his own apartment, house, and a flashy ride. He provided me with a list of qualities that women over 30 wanted in their men. The physical. Women over 30 wanted men who, by their definition, looked good, dressed well, and overall carried themselves in a manner that they deemed fit. We wanted the tall, dark and handsome, and would not give the short guy the time of day. All of us can relate to that. I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm over 6 feet. So I've got that going for me, but I feel sorry for all the guys that are just not blessed genetically and they don't meet this ridiculous metric. You see it all on dating apps, all over the place. Oh, it's got to be 6 feet. You watch Fresh and Fit and these other talk shows. It's always 6 feet, the magical threshold. The education level, he also stated that we only wanted highly educated men who already had advanced degrees and diplomas. He said that we never wanted to date the high school dropout or the guy who graduated from trade school. Yeah, and ironically, a lot of dudes who leave trade school, they become, electricians, plumbers. They are raking in the cash. You can't get plumbers in the UK. It's so difficult. They can name their price. And, these guys, they create companies, limited companies, they employ people, they take on apprentices who then they pass on their knowledge and skills like they used to in the old days. And then these people go on and make their own companies, and that's what really drives economic growth. And women outnumber men in college now. But as we know, women will only date across and up. So this all has to be weighed up in the calculation. Good job. Women over 30, in his opinion, only wanted to date men in highly ranked jobs or positions. He said that we just wanted the doctors, lawyers, managers, lecturers and consultants, to name a few. We often, he said, ignored the drivers, carpenters, mechanics and the plumbers. This guy's spitting bars. He knows the game. He understands the lay of the land. The rich. This includes men with money in the bank and investments, a beautiful house or apartment and a high-end car. No woman over 30 wanted a man who took the bus or rode a bicycle. I think that applies to sort of, appealing to women at any age, like even women in the early 20s. They will be impressed by a lot of these characteristics. The family-minded. Perhaps his biggest gripe with those 30-something women is that we wanted men who wanted to settle down and raise a family. His view is that no 30-something man wants to get married and raise a family because marriage is too risky and kids are expensive. He said that older women put pressure on our men to get married and have kids, so instead of taking us as partners, they avoid us, opting instead for our younger counterparts. Now, I will be the first to admit that he has some valid points. I'm using myself as an example. Although I see it from a different angle than he does. What surprise, surprise. He looks at it from a superficial standpoint. His thoughts are that we want the perfect man, a man that has our complete wish list. I see it as us not wanting to repeat the mistakes of our 20s. Wouldn't it be better if you just learned from someone and didn't make these mistakes, or made as few mistakes as possible in that really precious time? It's the most precious time that you have, especially as a woman, when you've got your fertility and your looks are on your side. So many women just waste that fertile time, that precious time, just with complete losers. As to having someone that we consider our equal, someone who is willing to settle down and live our lives together, if he'd stopped here, it would have been wonderful. However, he went a step further. He went on to tell me what men in our age group and older, men like himself, wanted in a woman. Let's see what he says. What men want in their women. According to him, men wanted women in their 20s. This is biology. We all know this. This is just repeated ad nauseum within this space, because it's true. These women, he said, were unaffected by gravity. They still had firm breasts, nice firm round butts, and they were not fat and wrinkled. Additionally, he said that their intimate areas were tighter because they had less partners than their 30-something counterparts. I took issue with this because for me it's just not true. I'm not talking about the men's desires. As a woman, I cannot speak to that. Instead, I am talking about the features that he said disqualified us from being desirable partners. Never mind the fact that everything that he listed was all superficial and shallow. As a 30-something woman, I am in the best shape of my life. In my 20s, I was skinny, had a flat ass and small chest. Now that I'm in my 30s, my chest and ass have gotten bigger and nicer. Gravity has not yet taken its toll on me. Yeah, but you're closer to the threshold when gravity is going to take its toll. You're nearing the cliff edge, right? Whereas someone in their early 20s has got a lot of road to go. That's the point he's getting at. As for partners, why should this even matter? Most men are not asked to talk about the number of partners they've had, so I find it ridiculous that in this day and age the number of men that a woman sleeps with matters. The only thing that should matter is her faithfulness to her current relationship. That's where you're wrong. Completely wrong. Men are always called studs because if they've had a lot of partners, it means that they've put in the work, and it's so much harder for men to attract women and to sleep with women. Women can just walk into the street and there'll be 90% of the dudes in the street will take them home. It's just like fish in a barrel to them, especially when they're in their early 20s, right? Men, this is graft, it's hard work. It's incredibly difficult to be successful with women as a man. And again, society knows this deep down. But why is she trying to make this equivalent statement? It's nonsense. Older women come with excess baggage. Again, true. He did go further than the superficial, but not after I confronted him about it. He said that 30-something women came with relationship baggage and that because of this we could not treat a man right. He told me of how women would compare their current partners to their past partners, picking out the negatives in their current men and saying that he was just like so-and-so. For example, if their man left a cup out of place, they would call him lazy like their ex. He also noted that they were not as trusting as they'd been hurt many times before. For him, that's too much baggage for an eligible bachelor to handle. As such, they went with the younger woman that they could guide and mould into their desired partner. My final thoughts, I call BS. Well, again, this is just logic. Men tend to think logically. If a man has built himself up to be an attractive man in his 30s, has maybe a business or a successful career, earning good money, nice house, nice place, nice car, all of those things, and he's built up from nothing, why would he want a woman that's going to constantly second guess him all the time and bring like a masculine energy into his house? That's not something that I would do at all. Absolutely not. You know, you want to buy, if you're going to have a sports car, you want a sports car that's low mileage, don't you? You don't want one that's got like 90,000 on the clock. For me, what he wants and desires in a woman shouldn't be projected as flaws of the women that he doesn't like. Yeah, of course he can. Of course he can project them because he's discriminating on he's discriminating based on what his requirements are, right? Again, to bring a car analogy back into it, if you want a sports car, you're going to criticize the conventional family saloon because it's not a sports car. Is that projection? No, of course not. It's a drawback of it. You're criticizing something for what it is. It's not projection. You like what you like and we want what we want, and that's perfectly fine. That's what makes us unique. Trying to put down an older woman to justify dating a woman half your age is unacceptable. And this, in my opinion, is precisely what he's doing. I don't think he's putting them down. He's just describing what they are. You know? He's just describing the drawbacks and negative aspects. It's weighing things up and critically evaluating them. That's all he's doing. He's not putting them down. But because these points are intrinsically, you can't deal with these points because you're 30 plus yourself, you're internalizing these points. I don't get it. Yes, there is an argument to be had that some older women are picky. Maybe this is because of their past experiences, changing tastes, or a messed up view of what a desirable man is. However, the argument could also be had that their taste has evolved as they've evolved as an individual. In our 20s, we are young and carefree, exploring life and discovering ourselves. So of course we'll make mistakes in our lives, careers, finances and relationships. So do our male counterparts. We each have to live with our own choices. Having a long wish list might leave a woman single, but compromising on one's desires can lead her into an unsatisfactory relationship that she grows to resent. As a 30-something woman, I'm single and okay with it. Sure, I would love to find my perfect partner, but for now I am working on me, loving me, building my business, creating a better version of me so that when I find my Mr. Right, I am the best version of myself. Yes, but with each passing year, your likelihood of finding Mr. Right decreases dramatically. I would query whether you think the same way at the age of 40 and beyond. Come back to me then with this piece. His words and assessments do not daunt me because I know that there's someone out there for me, and if not, I'm okay with it because my life is more than merely waiting for a soulmate. Again, come back to me when you're 40. Do you think that he's right about men not wanting a woman over 30? What about the things that he lists as being unattractive to men? I will include the link to this article, but let's have a look at the comments. Girls, it's not for you to decide what is acceptable and what is not. A successful man with good genes is not, and I repeat, not interested in women who were owned by dozens of men before. Again, that's exactly right. It's the Ferrari analogy, right? The sports car. Doesn't want the psychological baggage which you bring with your experience. He doesn't want your loose area. He doesn't want your wrinkles, yada yada. You can name call whatever you like. You cannot like it. However, some English errors here. Facts won't change. You settle till you are 24 to 27. You get the best man you can. Okay, let's move on. You speak the truth. This guy speaks truth. There's no comfort in the truth. Jordan Michael. Let me clear this up for the women and those identifying as women. It's biological. A woman in her 30s is less able to have healthy children and more likely to not be in her physical prime. The second point isn't as set as the first, but is a factor. So add to this a woman with a higher standard than she used to have. You're trying to buy more with less. It's not going to work. The best men your age are likely already taken or dating girls 5 to 10 years younger. The best men younger than you won't even consider an older woman. You're a leftover, you're a remainder, you won't get a catch, you can't anymore, and every year means you're less and less. There we go. Exactly. Rather than live in denial and drag younger women down this sad path, let younger women learn from your mistakes. And again, I've said before on this channel, an average person learns from their own mistakes. An idiot never learns, but the wise person learns from the mistakes of others. That's a key point. You've got to internalize information from the people in society that do well in the area that you've chosen to go into. I'm in my 30s and I date women in their 20s. Women over 30s are jaded, unattractive and past their prime. Why would I settle with a woman over 30 when I can date a beautiful 20-year-old that's going to give me beautiful kids? I'd rather not date leftovers. Supercar Petrol, that is a superb post. Completely agree with you there, no matter how harsh it is. But he's totally on point. This guy's right on target. If you ladies hate what he says, then stick your head in the sand. However, men of experience know he is telling the truth. Sometimes the truth ain't pretty. Why are women always trying to tell men what they should want in a woman? Frankly, it's pretty sexist. This man is spitting facts. Men want young women, plain and simple, especially if you're a man of resource. And by early 30s, you are getting there. If you've not made it already. Someone responded to Amgar. I think that was maybe the first post. I'm sorry, but your response is beyond ignorant and shows what kind of person you are. I'm 29, about to be 30, and I've only been with 2 men. That is a huge rarity, especially if you're a woman. 2 men by the age of 29. What are the odds of that happening? I wonder what she looks like. I'm doubting she's a Victoria's Secret model. But, I'm open to being surprised. I'm in the best shape of my life. Many of my friends and cousins in their early 20s have already been with over 20 men. Abortions, you name it. Nothing against them either, but it just goes to show how your response is invalid. It depends on the woman, how she takes care of herself and her genetics. Some of us just won't get into bed with any man. But anyhow, it's not because we're picky, but because we value our bodies and know there's more to life than pleasing a man. And with someone like you, and again, come back to me when you're 40. Come back to me. And I'll just show you guys the other article that I've gathered today from Quora.com. Why is it so difficult for a woman over 30 to find a guy who wants to commit to them? And you'll see the same points being raised by men here. As men get older and the fires of passion cool, so to speak, they become more self-possessed and perhaps more mature and perhaps less needful of attention or approval. Men in their 30s, 40s and 50s most likely have been married and divorced, sometimes several times, and in my experience are less willing and interested in going through that experience again. Modern progressive society has done women a great disservice. Amen. If a woman wants to be a mother and a wife, she needs to be focusing on that by the time she's 25. Women over 30 have a growing biological probability of birth defects and health-related conditions, not to mention the fact that a woman in her 30s and 40s has spent the best of her years giving her body and energy to other men, dozens of them, who knows how many. A woman in her mid to late 30s is approaching menopause, the best of her biological years are over. High-quality men with options are going to choose youth and beauty over any other distinction in a woman. That's simply the biological reality that's been going on since before recorded history. Again, this fella, Patrick, gets it 100%. Just check out some of the other responses before I call it a day for today. Why 30-plus women can't find men who want to commit, from A.E. Schneider. These women often talk about commitment on the first date. Yep, that's going to make you run for the hills. Some of these women pepper first dates with questions about past relationships, marriage, income, children, job status, etc. Most of these women are no longer fair, firm and fertile. Some of these women somehow assume that it's alpha men's responsibility to man up, meet their needs as they get desperate to get married. Some of these women act angry and entitled on the first date and wonder why there is no second date. And compared to their 20-something counterparts, some 30-plus women endlessly focus on men's, quote, responsibility. Many 30-plus professional women don't understand that women's money, power, education and influence are irrelevant to many men. Again, absolutely, it matters not. When I've been on dating profiles before, I really don't care what they do for a career, how much money that they earn. I just care whether they're a decent person and whether I'm attracted to them. I'm really not bothered about their level of education, influence in society, any of that stuff. I'm just not bothered. And it's the same for most men, I would think. Compared to finding a woman who is younger, attractive, even-tempered, creative, respectful towards men, and has a sense of humour. No man in his right mind wants to marry a woman who wants to be the CEO at home. Yeah, fact. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment and engage. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.